let's talk about building your team. So for me, I have an 8-step process I use. Number 1, I decide what I need. Then I make a list of that dream team. I work my network. I remember that bigger's not better. We're going to talk about that. I also have this honesty conversation because money does matter. I don't forget about legalities, politics, and other sundry items. They exist. They are part of the human condition. We don't want to leave those aside. Taking my time, we're going to talk about this. This is a big one. And then, of course, at the end of the day, enrolling them in the possibility. So, where I start when I say who should be on your team, there's 2 questions I ask myself. I ask myself, what do I need? And what do I lack? And I used to rush into having people help me. I even used to rush into hiring people in my company because I had so much work. I had to get it done today. The reality is you should spend as much time selecting your team for your idea as you would in hiring an employee or contractor, because they are either a catalyst or they will become your anchor. So what are you looking for in your dream team? I love Winston Churchill's quote where he says, "I'm not a pessimist, I am not an optimist, I am an opportunist." That is who you're looking on your team also for. So they're not intimidated by straight talk. They can communicate directly. They are focused on your outcomes and keep you holding to that big goal. You know, if you're having them come in to help you on a certain thing, make sure that you really believe that they're good and the best thing that you want to do. You know, I used to put a lot of weight in what people told me on how to make my ideas happen. The reality was a lot of the people advising me had no confidence in what they were advising me on. So you want to make sure the people you put on your team and ask for advice for are competent. I can't tell you, when I started my Realty Energy Ventures, which is an investment company, we do commercial and residential real estate, how many people told me how to do that, yet none of them actually owned properties or had ever ventured into that. Opinions are like airports. Everyone's going to give them. Find a team that's competent to give them to you. Your team should also be ready to tackle complex problems. You know, I like optimists and realists, but as I said, opportunists are the ideal ones, because then that allows you, even pessimists who are opportunists are good on your team. I actually do look for people with a good sense of humor. I like a good laugh. My dear and darling husband of 20 plus years, the one thing I always appreciate about him is when things get really, really heavy, the man can make me smile. And so having people on your team that keep you from getting too serious and remembering your passion and your fun in your idea helps. Also, open-minded people who don't jump to conclusions, and you can make your own list. And so I will tell you, if you've never personality typed yourself or you're not sure where you fall on the personality scale, there's lots of different ways to do it. There's lots of different ways online. You can even search for it. But what I encourage you to do is make sure you have your counterbalances on your team. In my very first business, and the only time I ever lost a huge sum of money in a business was when I actually went forward with a business venture, but I was missing what I call an analyst. They're the person who really looks at the data and says, are you doing what you should be doing? Because I'm actually kind of a get-it-done visionary, and I don't always like to look at the data. I like to run forward. And so I can promise you now I never do anything without making sure I have my good, solid analysts at my back. And I can happily say, haven't lost money since then. Now, one of the things that's really fun to do around your idea is to come up with your dream team. Baggage alert, okay? Some of us really believe that who we want on our dream team won't be there. The good news is, if you just let yourself figure out your dream team, you will be amazed at who will be on it. I can tell you, when I started moving into a lot bigger stages and wanting to grow my company and expand my client base and work more with the C-suites of corporations, I was amazed at who, when I asked for advice, support, conversations, all that kind of stuff, how generous people are. So don't hold back, because this is a baggage ahead warning. You will minimize who should be on your team. Don't. The worst they're going to tell you is no. But they won't tell you no if you enroll them. Working your network. So I have been able to put so many more ideas in play. And the fact of it is we're in an incredibly globally connected environment. I don't know about you, but if you haven't checked out who's on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Google+, sitting in clubs, at your parties with your friends, people in your family, the professional organizations you're sitting at, your coworkers, your church, I have not had any problems finding the right people just by opening my eyes to my existing network. And how do you open and get that network engaged? You can literally share your idea, and it's amazing who comes out of the woodwork to give you advice or opinions or a connection to someone who you want to be connected with. So be a networker and work your network and take advantage of every technological solution we now have to make it easier. I can build a team in 30 to 60 minutes on an idea where it used to take me weeks to find the right people and get in contact with them. Truly an amazing time we live in. Now, people always ask me, how big should my team be? And they're right. Size does matter. Why do I say that? Because I will tell you, when I'm working with my nonprofits, I'll walk in and they'll have 16 boards of directors, and 3 of them are doing the work, and the other 13 are anchoring. And when they ask me what we should do, I say, shrink the board. And they're like, oh, well, we have to do this. And it's like, you can actually work with a smaller, more efficient team and then grow bigger as you grow and gain momentum. So it is better to start smaller and not have anchors than to start big and have to manage anchors, because that can wear you out. The other reality of making a lot of ideas happen is that money, time, and resources matter. And so one of the things when it comes to building your team is looking at people who can provide those 3 things for you is important. And so be realistic on what you have to have happen. What I can say is if you're shy about having this conversation or that, especially when it comes to money, the only thing that usually happens if you're not willing to have a money conversation or really look for people who can fund, support, or donate the equivalent of what's a money service, your idea may take longer to happen. Some bigger ideas may never happen, though, because some things do need funding. So just make sure you've really looked at the money aspect and what it's going to take to make that happen, and find a team that can help you do it. Now let's talk about the other stuff. I mentioned it before, risks, liabilities, and things. So this is reality time. Everybody has great ideas, and the world is not always the kindest place, and things can happen. And so especially those of you who are out there on the entrepreneurial side of things, we tend to be a little bit more idealistic and optimistic, and we can learn the hard way. So make sure you look at your idea and say, are there any legalities I should be aware of? Things I need, licenses, permits, all that other stuff. What about money, accounting, being, especially if people are giving you money, being accountable for that? Is what I'm doing something that I should patent or trademark or service mark? Can it be stolen from me if someone gets wind of my idea? I always tell the story, and it does happen out there. It's happened to me. It's happened to others that, I had a really amazing thing. It was my intellectual property, and someone saw it who was part of a much larger corporation. At the time, I was like, I think a 2-woman outfit many, many years ago, and they were a huge global multinational corporation. When they took that work, I didn't have the resources to fight them, and they knew it. And so I lost that work, and it became theirs. They used it as a product. They sold it and made money off it. That is a reality, and that can happen. Not all companies have integrity. Not all people have integrity. So make sure you're looking at the other stuff. Get non-competes in place. Make sure you're clear on what's confidential. When you get people on your team, make sure it's really clear up front. And then I will tell you, you can get more free, valuable, correct advice cheaper than you can pay for it from the Small Business Administration and the IRS. Both organizations have small business hotlines that will give you, like I said, things that may cost you $300 to $500 an hour for elsewhere. So remember those resources. Also on team building, take the time. Here's another baggage alert. You will be told constantly by your brain that you do not have enough time. And it's a trick. So if you ever feel rushed to pick a team member and like, I have to do it because of this, and so I'm going to shortchange something else, that's where you pause and take a time out and say, if I don't take the time, what are the consequences? I can tell you very few ideas in life are going to drop dead if you take an extra couple hours or extra couple of days or even an extra couple of weeks. Or in my case, I remember I took a whole year that I sat on something, and I was glad I did because it came out better and I did the research and I did it right. Last but not least, I taught you how to do your own. Guess who are the first people you're going to own? Yes, it is your team. So make sure when you figure out who you need, get that OM in place, give them a call, meet them for lunch, talk to them, take a walk with them. I don't care what you do, but practice that OM. Enroll them, get them excited. At the end of the day, the people who really stay committed to your ideas are the people who get the beautiful passion, breadth, and inspiration you have behind it.